Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure you're part of our journey. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and get ready for a story that will leave you thinking. And if you love inspiring tales, a like goes a long way. She doesn't belong here. These words cut through the applause like glass. The elegant auditorium fell silent as laughter erupted from the back row. Sarah's hand trembled as she clutched her scholarship certificate, frozen halfway to the stage. The chandelier light caught the tears welling in her eyes. Around her, 300 students in designer clothes watched from plush seats. Parents with Rolex watches checked their phones. Professors in tailored suits shifted uncomfortably. At the podium, the dean cleared his throat, his smile now strained. What nobody noticed was the special guest speaker's expression changing. In the wing of the stage, Dwayne Johnson's jaw tightened as he watched. The Hollywood star was supposed to be here for a simple award presentation, but his massive hands now gripped the curtain. Something was about to happen that no one in this privileged room expected. If this moment made you feel something, imagine what's coming next. Hit that like button and stay with us. Subscribe now. Sarah Lopez had never imagined herself at Westfield Academy. The scholarship was her miracle. Full tuition at an institution where parking lots gleamed with luxury cars and students carried bags worth more than her mother's monthly salary. For 18 months, she'd studied until dawn, waited tables after class, and survived on ramen to maintain her perfect GPA. Today was supposed to be her moment of validation. "Scholarship kids should stick to community college," continued the voice. It belonged to Madison Hayes, daughter of a hedge fund billionaire. Her friends, all children of executives, politicians, and celebrities, snickered from their premium seats. The whispers spread like wildfire across the auditorium, and Sarah could feel the weight of hundreds of eyes judging her second-hand dress and unbranded shoes. The dean's microphone picked up Madison's words clearly enough for everyone to hear. He coughed awkwardly, looking toward the row of trustees for guidance. "Let's continue with our ceremony," he said weakly, adjusting his glasses. But the damage was done. The perfect veneer of inclusivity that Westfield's brochures promised had cracked open, revealing the ugly prejudice beneath. Sarah's legs wouldn't move. The certificate in her hand, the one she'd sacrificed everything for, now felt meaningless. Her mother had taken a bus across town after her hospital shift to witness this moment. She sat in the back row now, her nurse's scrubs barely concealed under a borrowed blazer, watching helplessly as her daughter stood frozen in humiliation. The distance between the seat and stage seemed to stretch into miles of social divide. From backstage, Dwayne Johnson had been watching everything unfold. The Academy had paid handsomely for The Rock to appear as their celebrity guest, expecting him to shake hands, take photos, and boost the institution's prestige. What they hadn't counted on was his memory. 25 years ago, he'd been that struggling kid with $7 in his pocket, familiar with the sting of judgment and exclusion. He wasn't in the program until the final award, but his massive frame was already moving. Backstage assistants whispered urgently, trying to stop him. This wasn't the plan. The event coordinator frantically flipped through the schedule, but Johnson had already made his decision. The polished marble floor seemed to vibrate slightly with each step as he moved toward the stage entrance. The audience, still buzzing with Madison's cruelty, hadn't noticed him yet. Things are about to take a turn. Don't miss what happens next. Subscribe, like our video, and keep watching. The first indication something unexpected was happening came when a stagehand dropped a binder with a loud slap. All eyes turned as Dwayne Johnson stepped onto the stage, his 6 feet 5 inches frame commanding immediate attention. He wasn't scheduled yet. The dean's confusion was evident as he fumbled with the microphone. But The Rock moved with deliberate purpose, his custom suit barely containing his shoulders as he crossed to center stage. "I believe we have an award recipient waiting," he said, his deep voice resonating through the hall without needing amplification. With a gentle gesture toward Sarah, he smiled. Not his Hollywood smile, but something more genuine. "May I?" he asked the dean, who could only nod dumbly. Reaching for the microphone, Johnson turned to face the audience directly. The laughter from Madison's corner had evaporated instantly. Parents who had been checking emails suddenly put their phones away. The atmosphere in the room transformed as Johnson stood silently for 3 full seconds, his eyes slowly scanning the auditorium. "I wasn't supposed to speak until later," Johnson began, his voice both warm and authoritative. "But sometimes the schedule needs to change." He turned slightly toward Madison's section. "Sometimes we need to address what's happening in the room." Phones began to emerge again, not for emails but for recording. The Rock was off script, and everyone sensed something momentous was unfolding. "You know, before I was this," he gestured to himself with a self-deprecating smile that made the audience chuckle nervously, "I was a kid with nothing but dreams and determination. $7 in my pocket. No connections. No privilege." His gaze found Sarah, still frozen halfway to the stage. "What I did have was people who believed merit should matter more than money, who understood that real strength is about lifting others up, not pushing them down." Madison sank lower in her seat as Johnson's words resonated through the hall. Her friends, so eager to join her mockery moments ago, now created subtle distance between their chairs and hers. Several trustees were nodding along with Johnson's words, their expressions serious. Johnson stepped down from the podium and approached Sarah directly. The microphone picked up his voice as he spoke just to her. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "Sarah Lopez," she answered, her voice barely audible until Johnson angled the microphone toward her. "Sarah Lopez," he repeated, turning back to the audience, "is why I'm here today. Not just her specifically, but what she represents." He placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Excellence that comes from work, not wealth. Determination that flows from dreams, not entitlement." The audience had fallen completely silent. Even the event photographers had stopped clicking, captivated by the unfolding moment. In the back row, Sarah's mother wiped tears from her eyes as she watched her daughter standing beside the global superstar. "Now, I understand there was an opinion shared a few minutes ago," Johnson continued, his tone shifting subtly. His trademark eyebrow raised slightly as he looked directly at Madison's section. "Something about where scholarship students belong." The question hung in the air. Madison seemed to physically shrink under his gaze. "I think we should address that before Sarah receives her well-earned recognition. This story is only getting deeper. What would you do in this situation? Comment below, and let's talk." Johnson's footsteps echoed as he moved across the stage toward the steps leading down to the audience. Would the young lady who shared her thoughts about community college care to stand? His voice remained measured without anger, yet carried undeniable authority. The spotlight operator, sensing the moment, focused the beam on Madison's row. For several agonizing seconds, nothing happened. Then, with visible reluctance, Madison rose to her feet. Her usual confidence had evaporated, replaced by the deer-in-headlights look of someone suddenly accountable for words spoken carelessly. "Thank you for your honesty," Johnson said, surprising everyone. "Seriously, because you've given us all an opportunity here." He descended the stairs with deliberate steps. The audience was utterly transfixed as The Rock, global icon, highest-paid actor in Hollywood, walked directly toward the student section. Madison visibly swallowed as he approached. "What's your name?" he asked, extending the microphone toward her. "Madison Hayes," she answered, her voice uncharacteristically small. "Madison," Johnson repeated, standing directly before her now. "Let me ask you something. What's harder, being born at the finish line or running the whole race on your own?" The question wasn't delivered with malice, but with genuine curiosity that demanded reflection. Madison had no answer. Her face flushed red as hundreds of eyes focused on her. "I've been both poor and rich in my life," Johnson continued, addressing the entire audience now. "And I can tell you with absolute certainty which one required more strength, more discipline, and more character." He turned back to Madison. "Success means nothing if we use it to diminish others rather than to lift them up." The silence in the auditorium was absolute. Even the air conditioning seemed to have paused. "So, here's what we're going to do," Johnson said, his voice shifting to a tone that brooked no argument. "Madison, I'd like you to walk up to that stage right now." He gestured toward the platform where Sarah still stood. "And I want you to present Sarah with her award." Madison looked toward her friends for support, but found none. Her father, a board member sitting with the trustees, gave her a stern nod. With no options remaining, she made her way to the aisle. The click of her expensive heels against the marble floor seemed to echo through the silent hall as she approached the stage. Johnson stood at the bottom of the stage stairs, offering her his hand, a gesture both supportive and requiring compliance. Madison took it, her smaller hand disappearing into his massive palm, and climbed the steps. Sarah watched as her tormentor approached. Their eyes met. One girl who had everything handed to her, facing another who had fought for every opportunity. Johnson positioned himself subtly between them, his presence both mediating and protecting. "Sarah," he said, "your achievement today represents the very best of what education should be about." He turned to Madison. "Would you like to say something as you present this award?" Madison looked at the certificate, then at Sarah. The entire audience held their breath. Even the most privileged people in the room understood the weight of this moment, how it could define both young women forever, how hundreds of phones were capturing what would happen next. It's not over yet. The best part is coming. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. "Congratulations," Madison finally said, her voice barely steady. Then, after a pause that seemed eternal, she added words no one expected. "I'm sorry." The apology was quiet but genuine enough that Sarah's expression softened slightly. As the certificate changed hands, spontaneous applause broke out across the auditorium. Johnson's smile returned, warm and approving. "This is strength," he announced to the room, placing one hand on Sarah's shoulder and the other on Madison's, admitting mistakes, making amends, recognizing each other's humanity. His voice resonated through the hall. These young women might learn more from this moment than from any textbook. As Madison returned to her seat, her walk different now, shoulders slightly slumped in reflection rather than arrogance, Sarah finally moved to the podium. Johnson stepped aside, giving her the stage that had been denied moments before. "Thank you," Sarah began, her voice growing stronger with each word. "This scholarship means everything to me and my family." She looked toward her mother in the back row. "Mom, we did it." The simple acknowledgement brought fresh tears to many eyes. "And thank you, Mr. Johnson, for reminding everyone that we all deserve to be judged by our efforts, not our backgrounds." After the ceremony, students crowded around Sarah, not Madison's group, but others who had been silent witnesses until now. They offered congratulations, shared contact information, extended study group invitations. The social barriers hadn't disappeared, but cracks had formed in previously impenetrable walls. Meanwhile, Johnson spent extra time with Sarah and her mother listening to their story, offering encouragement and exchanging contact information with genuine promises to stay in touch. Trustees watched from a distance, some with newfound respect, others with the uncomfortable recognition of biases in their institutional culture. The story spread beyond Westfield Academy within hours. Cell phone videos captured the moment perfectly. The Rock standing up for academic merit over privilege, forcing accountability, and transforming public humiliation into a lesson about true strength. By evening, the clips had millions of views across social media platforms. 3 days later, Johnson posted about the incident on his own accounts. True strength isn't about muscle. It's about standing up for what's right. Congratulations again, Sarah Lopez. Your determination inspires me. And respect to Madison Hayes for showing that growth begins with accountability. We're all works in progress. The post included a photo. Johnson with his arms around both young women, all three smiling. In colleges across the country, the incident sparked conversations about privilege, merit, and the real meaning of institutional inclusion. And in one university library where Sarah continued to study late into the night, she now found herself surrounded by new allies. Students from all backgrounds united by the understanding that real strength means lifting others up, not pushing them down. Wow, what a story! If this moved you, imagine what else we have for you. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and let us know what you think.